Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to witness the endless suffering of one Scott Matla. We are live. Before you start anything, Scott, give everybody a few minutes to join the stream. I know my wonderful co-host Ian just tweeted it out, and if you see me looking at my phone, no, you didn't. I'm just sharing the episode. First of all, let me just say hi, Ian. How are you doing tonight?
It's way too hot, but I guess it's August 2nd, so that's we're supposed to just live with that now. It's the coldest summer for the rest of our lives.
Pretty much. And
Eat at
speaking of
Arby's, apparently, over here.
Yeah,
We're
eat
doing
Arby's.
nihilist hot ones tonight.
speaking of hot, guess what? Scott is doing the Hot Ones challenge with us once again. Scott, how are you? And how have your 2 entire days without us been?
It's been weird that I'm getting home from work and I'm like, okay, I got to write down my show notes and see what the things are. And then I'm like, no, I don't have to do any of this anymore.
It's
That
not your
sounds rude.
job
Now I'm like,
anymore.
cool, I'm free. I'm the genie at the end of Aladdin that I've been freed on everything. And as it turns out, it's just kind of weird when you go from doing something 5 nights a week for 5 years to, well, I don't do this anymore. So now what?
Scott, I just want to know real quick, how much have you missed? How much? No, how much will you miss doing this podcast?
I mean, a ton. Like, it was such a huge part of like everything that it's been weird that, like, I was talking to my coworkers when we were in Saratoga Springs getting together, and they were like, "You're leaving the show," and they're like, "Haven't you done this?" I'm like, "I've done this for 5 years," but it's going to be one of those things that it's like, it's the time was right. I'm going to miss the hell out of it because, as you know, you and Ian talked about in the last episode, talking about all those defensive extensions and stuff, that this team is on the way up now, that you guys get what should be the fun times. And, we trudge through the Andy Dufresne toilet pipe in Shawshank Redemption to get there. I have such a way with words that's never going to change, but I'm glad that there's something positive coming out of this, that this is going to be so good. I'm going to miss the hell out of doing this show so much, though.
And
But
in
you've
that vein,
gained a podcast to listen to now. Like now you
I was
can
going to say, I don't have
listen
to hear
a
my
show.
own voice. It's going to be great. I can't wait to not hear my voice.
That's one of the bittersweet things about it for me is now I'm kind of losing my favorite podcast. But I guess I could just tune into I'll listen to the episodes Laura does. That way I can keep the dream alive.
The solo episodes.
Yeah.
For a while, and this is for all the people who are just tuning in, you're getting so much peeking behind the curtain. Like at the very beginning, when we first started, Scott and I would listen to every single show in the morning, and I would take notes as to how to get better. And that was so bad for my self-esteem. Like it was incredibly poor decision making on my part. Like I'd be doing my skincare, getting ready for work, and I would just put myself in a bad mood because I was so critical. But after doing this for 5 years, it does feel a lot easier. And I will say, we've had one episode with Ian as co-host, and it feels like just so natural and so smooth. But Scott, you have some things to address.
Yeah, are we doing this right away, or are we just going to take some questions and wait till I get to Hot Wing, the really hot stuff, to then let me start yelling at everyone that I hate in the world of hockey?
So here's what we've got for you. So today, you have the
no.
opportunity to address enemies. We've got a couple of messages to read to you and one video to play to you. So it's up to you when you want to start. What do you want to do? This is your final, your last hurrah. So we're gonna leave it up to you. Do you want to maybe start with a mild one?
I'm gonna go right down the list of things here. We're doing this as they would on the show. We're gonna start with, oh, that's not so bad, to I wish you would just kill me at the end of it instead. I'm kidding for the YouTube censors who are out there. Don't send me a cares alert or something like that. It's fine. It's hot sauce.
It is hot sauce. Maybe tell us, when the last time you did this, was it because you lost a bet?
No, I think it was, oh God, was it 1,000 YouTube subscribers? I think that we did hot ones for, and it was a random day. I think it was a year ago. I think it was either in the summer or one of the Friday nights during the season. And all I remember is going to the work the next day, and I'm like, my stomach feels like I've just eaten molten rocks after a while, just like I did after the one chip. Still would prefer this over ever chugging flaming hot Mountain Dew ever again in my life, because that is one of the most horrifying things I've ever experienced. In that, like, here's orange Mountain Dew, but we just melted Cheetos and flaming hot Cheetos in it, and it was just not great in any way, shape, or form. So, I guess we'll start.
I have a follow-up question to that.
Yes.
What is Mountain Dew? Like, I was going to ask, you've done a lot of these challenges or losing bets, or, you know, if the Habs do this, I will eat this. What is the grossest thing that you have consumed on this show or for this show?
I do want to say it was probably the Land, Sea, and Air from McDonald's, because I had to assemble it myself. And by the time we got home from a McDonald's that was open, it was like 15 minutes. So everything had left peak McDonald's temperature.
Yeah.
And eating a Filet-O-Fish that is sat for 15 minutes is not an enjoyable process in any way, shape, or form, unfortunately.
Well, plus, like, you have the time to contemplate your actions, right? Like, you're built, okay, I have to unwrap each sandwich. I'm taking them apart. I'm putting them back together. And like every part of your brain that was designed evolutionarily to keep you alive is telling you to stop doing it. And you're like, I got to do it still.
A sandwich from McDonald's should not be taller than like a full-size banana. And I have a photo on my phone of like banana for scale. And it's like, even squishing it down, it is still like this. And you're trying to eat it in one bite to get every part of it. And then you just bite into the Filet-O-Fish, and it's like, I might as well just eat in the cardboard box this came in, because that's what it tastes like. So
for our listeners who are not in North America, can you explain what a Land, Sea, and Air is? Because I'm pretty sure there's parts of this world, you know, where they have like a Parmesan stick as a snack. They don't know what a Land, Sea, and Air thing is.
So before we do that, then I'm going to start pouring hot sauce on some of these, because I think my fiance and in-laws want to see me start suffering in the other room. So we're starting at the top with just the classic garlic hot sauce here. Only 1,700 Scoville units.
Why is the number like so high, even though it's not, like, you know what I mean? Like, why is the scale built that way?
Yeah, like, why did they start in the thousands and not like
Yeah,
0?
why is it like, why isn't it 1? Like, why are we starting in like the five figures?
Because 1 is like a bell pepper, which has just no heat to it at all, unless you're Steve Dangle. But for that, it's I don't know. I'm not a spice expert by any way, shape, or form. That's really tasty, and I'm going to put that on my eggs in the morning.
So yeah, tell us, like, because usually you read the name of the brand and the, like, what is the.
So that is the Hot Ones, the classic garlic Fresno edition. Fan favorite sauce, has been a hit since its accidental inception, thanks to its blend of tart and tangy vinegar mixed with extra garlic and fresh Fresno chilies. It's fantastic. Like, it's just light, little spicy, little smoky, but it's all good. For the question, what is a Land, Sea, and Air? A Land, Sea, and Air is McDonald's ran the weird Franken menu for a while for some reason, because people were doing it anyways. Yeah. And a Land, Sea, and Air was a McDouble with a patty, a McChick, or a Filet-O-Fish, a McChicken, and then the other patty of the McDouble all together as one sandwich. And I thought it came assembled that way in like a giant wrap or something, and they're like, nope, put this together yourself and deal with it. So
I did the one, it was just like a McDouble with nuggets on it, and as I like you said, like, they give you the parts for it, and I was like, why am I doing this? Like, I sat there, I put it down in front of me, and I went, I really shouldn't be doing this. This is stupid.
I'm going to give you a peek behind the curtain of my first job working at McDonald's, when we would count waste at the end of the night, and we're like, well, I don't want to throw out these McNuggets and Angus third pounder. So I at one point made an Angus third pounder with cheese, 5 nuggets in the middle, and another Angus third pounder in the bottom bun. And I took it home because I'm like, we're throwing these out in 15 minutes. So I counted them as waste, and I made the sandwich for myself. Like, it was, you think you can create a Franken creation better than either stoned people coming into McDonald's or the people that work there, and you're wrong. You will
Loss
not be able to do it.
Prevention has been notified. They're on their way.
What are they going to do? I worked there, Jesus, 15 years ago.
Oh,
You owe us $7.30. Okay, here you go. I'll give you a $20 bill. Leave me alone.
Let's do the next sauce, and then
all right. No, go ahead. You're the host. I'm interrupting like I own this show still. So
no, do the next sauce, and then I have a question for you.
All right, so we have double comfort food seeing double jalapenos, herbs, and mint. a hint of sweetness comes together to make this an easygoing second wing sauce. If you're already feeling the heat, you can feel better knowing proceeds from Double Comfort Foods support hunger relief charities. And I do feel much better about that. So out of all of these two, I haven't had any of these before except for the classic Fresno, which was the first time we did this. They gave me that sauce in there too. And for people to see that I am not lying here, sauce on the chicken wing.
And isn't there like this one sauce where it's like, don't do more than a drop of this? Like just put a tiny little drop on the wing.
The last step, which is basically just, do you want to be pepper sprayed by the police in the comfort of your own home? Here you go. And that's what it is. So.
Okay. So Scott, I really like this question. Actually, it is a terrible question. You have to trade one of Cole Caulfield or Juraj Slafkovsky. Which one is it?
Cole Caulfield.
All right. Interesting. Go on.
You told me I'm not allowed to think on any of the questions I get asked anymore, so I'm not going to think on any of the questions I get asked anymore.
So is it just because
fair an answer as any?
Yeah. No, I totally understand. It's just because the show is like the be small, score goals thing.
Don't get me wrong. I'm going to hate trading him because we're like, we need an all-star goal scorer. We said that with Max Pacioretty, and then they're like, well, no, he's a bum. We got to trade him too. This isn't
the best
because
we could do for him was David Desharnais. Like, what were we doing?
The thing with trading him is that it's like team will give you a bajillion things for him. And if people really want the hot take with this, out of everything that I would do, if I'm trading anyone on this current team, it's Arbor Jack Guy for $1 billion worth of things because teams are salivating at the thought of him becoming a free agent at some point soon and then being able to give him 6 times $7.5 million.
We've got a couple of really good questions, so let us know, Scott, when you're ready for another one.
Give me a second. This one is ferment. This actually isn't even a sauce. This is fermented kimchi from Montreal. So,
oh wow,
that's cool.
I don't know how this is gonna pour out. Salty, spicy, pickly, terrible. Vegan kimchi is the first ingredient in this unique hot sauce featuring gochujang spice. Thai chilies add another layer of warmth balanced by a splash of soy sauce. The delicious depth of flavor should distract you from the growing heat. Let's find out, because this is from Mark's handcrafted in Montreal. So let's see how this is.
And let me know if I should go find some and pick some up. Another thing when we're talking about fermented and pickled, Scott hates pickles. So one of the very first things we made him eat, and this was like very early in the show, it became a running gag that he was challenged to eat a pickle and he ate a gherkin, like a little tiny like cornichon, and like even Carly was making fun of him at that point.
That was out at my birthday dinner, no less, too. So like, by the way, that is how this came out of here. Like that is like an actual like just a blob. It smells like it would be incredible. Well, I hope it tastes incredible, seeing as I'm the one who's got to eat it. So like,
Scott, when you eat spicy foods, what's sort of the reaction? Like, I'll tell you my experience. I end up getting the hiccups every time. I don't know why that reaction happens to me.
One, that's delicious. Laura, go buy some.
I will. Good to know.
My biggest reaction is that if I try to wash it down with something, I like Ian get the hiccups. Yeah. Or sometimes I try to wash it down with something that is not effective in counterpointing something here and just making it worse. So
the nose running is also pretty lame. I get that too. I hate you just feel like you have a cold all of a sudden.
You will see it in this, then I will feel it like I've been running in the heat, which I haven't really needed at this point right now, but that has a little kick at the end. That's nice though. That'd go really well with basically any Asian food, really. But the nose running is definitely the hardest part. That I'm like, stop it. I'm like, because I can't touch my face with anything.
Careful around your eyes.
Yeah, I was like, I can't, do anything over here, or else it's gonna just be awful. So like, that's the worst part. The hiccups are really bad though, and that's usually when I eat too many of these things too fast, because then it's like, here's all that spice back again, and you're not gonna have comfort for at least a half an hour.
For me, it's like I'm very used to spice, obviously, but I do get the runny nose. And occasionally, if I overdo it a little bit, I'll get like a tiny bit sweaty. But I can definitely take the heat better than Scott can, I think.
Congrats on stepping over a bar that's like slightly off the floor.
Yeah.
It's like when I trained our
It's over
dog
an
to do
extension
tricks.
cord.
All right. So we've got a few questions. We have a question from Adam asking, are we making the playoffs this year?
Do you want me to do another wing now, or do you want me to start answering this one and then do another wing on the next
Answer
question?
the question, then do another wing, because we've got a few more questions.
I don't think it'll be this year, but I think this is the year they step out of we're firmly being bad on purpose to we're going to be annoying but bad and like be closer to the playoffs this year. It's like I said on the show, they're not going to make it this year. They should be potentially a wild card place team in 2 years' time. When that core, especially once Hudson and Reinbacher kind of settle in, goaltending, and someone like Owen Beck, Ivan Demidov comes over here, that's when everything clicks into place. The minute Demidov and Hudson are fully established in this lineup, you got to go for it. You got to start pushing, because if Hudson hits the ground like we think he's going to, that next contract is not going to be cheap. And if Demidov does what we think he's going to do, his next contract is going to be cheap. You want to get the most value out of that before you got to start paying everyone, which thanks to the well done work of Kent Hughes on Suzuki and Caulfield and Slavkovsky and Gooley, etc., the Canadiens are in a pretty good spot cap wise when they got to start paying these guys as well.
Yeah. So we've got a comment saying, if we're not going to make the playoffs, might as well be bottom 10 to get another high pick. I understand the reasoning behind that, and I thought that's what they ended up doing this year. But I think that they're not going to accept anything but trying to be going on all cylinders from any of these players, right? Like Martin St. Louis, the front office, they're going to want to see them play like the absolute lights out as they can, and try to see what they've got in this core before they make decisions about who to trade, who to include in, like, a throw in for an asset, et cetera, et cetera. So I get the reasoning. I don't disagree with it, but I think this was the last year that they did that.
Yeah. I don't know if the goal is goal's definitely not playoffs as far as I'm concerned. I think the goal is playing meaningful games in late February, March. Like, we can't be out at that point, right? Like, because these guys have played a lot of nothing hockey the last few years. And one thing I want to try to stress over, not only in this, stream, but throughout the rest of the summer, we are not making predictions about them making the playoffs before Halloween. They're going to start hot, right? They're gonna start hot. I feel like that's a completely reasonable, and they have some tough opponents to start the season. And if they knock off a couple of those guys, everyone's going to start going, man, this is a playoff team, division, one of the top 3 in the division. And everybody take a deep breath. This is
Ian, we're not addressing haters right now, because I know exactly who you're talking about. And I'm trying to not mention this in this stream and being a jerk about it, but I know exactly who you're talking about. So
yeah.
Anyways.
I also feel like I like how like Ian is establishing himself as the dad. It's like, we're not making the playoff. We're not making predictions until Halloween. That's not allowed.
I will turn this car around. We're going back to Winnipeg.
No ice cream.
No Cape Canaveral for anybody. I know JD's in the chat, so he's gonna appreciate that as well. So,
and JD does say, like, you need to be the fun, frisky team now, and that's like, honestly, like, pesky is great. Like, I didn't like it when the Ottawa Senators did it, but that's because Ottawa shouldn't have nice things. They shouldn't have fun. Like, that's enough fun for them. But like pesky and frisky here, I think definitely works. We've got a few more questions. Oh, Randy asks, do you want to do another wing?
Yeah, that's what I've got right now.
All right.
Because in the other room, my fiance is currently in the chat yelling at me to do the last dab so I can suffer in front of the in-laws. So we've got the barbacoa, which is sizzling its way back in the lineup. Los Calientes Barbacoa is Hot One's smokiest sauce of summer, featuring applewood smoked red jalapenos and a dash of habanero. Adds flame kiss flavor art to the 4th wing.
That sounds really good.
That's a lot sweeter than I expected. That's really, really nice.
Are you feeling it yet? Are you?
No, yeah, there's heat at the end, but like, this is nothing outside of like, when our marketing team visited, we went to Barbell in Buffalo and did the Suicide Wing Challenge, where you get 10 hot wings but one of them is randomly the Suicide Heat, and we couldn't tell which one it was. So I don't know if I've just adjusted. He said before macing himself.
That's evil stuff. I hate that.
I would, no.
Yeah. Let's play Russian roulette with chicken wings and see who has a spice sensitivity.
Next question comes from Randy Hansen. Was there anything that Scott has not done with the show that he regrets not having had the chance to do?
Cool. We're gonna kill two birds with one stone here, because we're gonna address an enemy and answer this question. There were some top prospects, and I will remain nameless on who they were, even if they do not play in this area anymore, that I really wanted to interview on this podcast, and that I got the information from people who went or were around this area, and from the NHL Media Guide. Had a really nice detailed email that I read over, made sure it was professional, provided all the information and ways to reach me, and got ghosted on all of them. And for like 2 weeks, it is the maddest I have ever been. So if you are at Redacted, I hate you. Because we were setting up, it was going to be like potentially one of our biggest things. And I've never, it was one of those things that I'm like, am I really doing the right thing here? And then, realize it's not me, it's them. So like, if you get an email from somebody requesting, an email for anything, just say, hey, we can't do that. Cool. Now I have an answer. If you say nothing, I assume that you hate me and are mad at me now. And also, I hate you for doing that. I need I need definitive closure as an anxious millennial for things.
And the thing that I think that was the most frustrating about that is that Scott is credentialed for like when the Laval Rocket were in town, like for he went to the Winter Classic, right? So like I think that was really, really upsetting for me too, is that like Scott really worked hard to become a credentialed media member, and they still did not acknowledge it. So they can die of hot ones. I'm sorry. of hot ones. I'm addressing Scott's enemies at this point. And then Ian's lovely wife, who's an amazing photographer, asks, what is your post hot ones cool down plan? Is there a method?
Chocolate milk. I don't know if this is going to work or not. It helped last time. I think during one of them, I just started eating ice cubes because I thought I was going to pass out in the middle of one of the sauces. The biggest plan is chocolate milk. Apparently citrus juice is supposed to help cut this, and I'm not going to like lick a lemon or anything, but if it's bad enough, I might just try it anyways. So
I mean, you're attacking with like there's like salt, fat, and heat in that, so you might as well just add the acid, and you get like all of them. Time for another question. And this one, like if you heard me laugh out loud randomly, it's because I saw the question, and the question comes from Andrew J. And it says, does Scott think that Halak, Ryder, and a second would be enough for the Jackets to agree for a Patrick Laine trade?
Throw in Josh Anderson, and I think we can do it.
Whenever I see Halak, Ryder, and a second, it just like it takes me back to the days when like people would like dig out HF boards proposals and like, debate them, and we haven't done that. Maybe
Eller Tenorti and a third was the other one. Like those
hey,
are
all
always
those
guys
people
we
are
were
still
trading.
playing. Are you really bringing me a lemon right now?
There's a lemon.
There's a lemon, and we have the next sauce, which is called Chairman Meow's Revenge. Now that I've delisted our video in One Nation, things are heating up. Our number 5 sauce features the sneaking spice of Trinidad scorpion peppers. The spot is in the lineup for one of the hottest peppers on the planet, but Fat Cat Gourmet's recipe balances the flavor with heat. Sure, he said like a liar. No, they're right. That's actually pretty good. The first row is never bad. It's the second row where you start going, is this going to be the one? Is this going to be the one that does it? And this honestly wasn't too bad so far, but it just lingers on the back of it. Everyone in the other room is waiting for me to start like crying, and I feel bad about that, but
that's later.
I mean, if you do want to start crying, I can start reading you the messages if you'd like.
I was going to say, do we want to switch? And then I'm into the second row after that. That was the first 5 sauces. So now the next sauce in that one was 54,000 Scoville units. The next one jumps up to 71,000. So we are And I Googled this before because I was asked, what does pepper spray have for Scoville units? And that starts at 250,000. So we'll find out where these hot sauces fall on the attacked by the police level of spice.
When you get asked, what did you do this weekend? You can say, I ate pepper spray is what you can do. Okay, so let's start. There are still questions. I think I'm going to start doing like questions and messages because I do want to get to all of these. And the first one comes from our good friend JD, who is in the chat. Scott, you were one of the few who could walk the line of genius Scott poster with amazing analysis. The network isn't going to be the same without you around. I appreciate how hard you worked when the team was good and how much harder you worked when the Habs weren't good. Wishing you the best of luck. That's JD of Locked On Sharks.
JD, thank you. As your former co-host, is that I took the parts of your analysis and Kyle's pure chaos, and I think distilled them into one person here. I thank you for that as someone whose team is not very good, but it continues to put out some of the best content on the network. That does mean the absolute world as someone who is also part of the Haters Anonymous group chat. Thank you so much for that.
And I will say that Locked On Sharks does have a lot of prospect profiles like leading up to the draft. And I've definitely learned more about players that the Habs ended up picking from JD's show. And JD has some fantastic podcast guests. And he also has some Sharks prospects on. So check out Locked On Sharks because it is a fantastic show. Scott, you're getting ready for another wing.
Yes, this is sauce number 6. This is Onima, based in Barcelona. They are the first Spanish hot sauce makers and perfecters of fermented flavor. Simple recipe with upfront heat of aged habanero peppers, along with notes of sherry, vinegar, garlic, and paprika. So, JD, I didn't say who else was in the group chat. So there could be 7 people. There could be 2 people.
Anonymous.
It could be me talking to myself. Like, who knows? My therapist says that's okay. So, all right. So, yeah. I also confused koji, because that's what it says on the label, with goji berries, and I thought this was going to be fruit flavored, and when it wasn't, I was kind of disappointed.
Are there any in the list that are fruit flavored?
Yes. The second hottest one has blackberry and blueberry in it, and is 700,000 Scoville units. I smelled it in my nose, and my nose just curled, so...
I don't want to, start a relationship issue, but Carly does say that you are not putting enough sauce on because you are not suffering enough. So,
pardon me real quick, because she can hear me in the other room. Put the sauce on your own damn wings, then. I am showing my work. For those who don't know how my apartment is set up, which is nobody, directly in front of me is our dining room where Carly, her sister, and her husband are sitting watching this, waiting for me to start crying. And that's the first one that has lingering heat on it. Whew.
Yeah,
that one's actually lingering a little bit on there.
This would be the moment in Hot Ones where like they play a dramatic noise and now there's echo and they zoom in on your face.
Who has the Inception button that they can play in the background?
We need to turn this. I think that's what I'm going to institute on this show. Is we're going to turn it really into like an FM morning Zoom show. I'm going to have a soundboard that just has a lot of dumb stuff. Yeah, we're going to really just change the art form for the worse.
We need to make a clip of that. Oh no! For any time something goes wrong in a game, we're going to use that.
One of my favorite moments from this show was there was an episode that ended in the funny number. And Laura, you were like, Scott, why haven't you didn't say nice yet? And he was like in the middle of drinking something. And it's the funniest. That's my favorite meme from the history of this show is just Scott like barely getting the drink out of his mouth to say nice.
Okay, so when we cross 70,000, things start getting a little hot because that one won't go away now. No matter what I do, that one won't go away.
So how about an easy question for you from our good friend Trizak? Trizak, what I really appreciate about you is that you are like a solid member of the Habs viewing community. Like I've seen you on like Game Over. I've seen you here. I so much appreciate your presence and everything you contribute. And the question is, hello, Scoot. Is shrimps bugs?
Apparently they are. Ian ruined my life by making me learn this. So
are shrimps not bugs?
I don't know.
For sure.
Yeah, they're yummy.
I'm not a paleont. No. Oh, I thought this was the fun lemonade from the fridge.
Did you just get one of the lime juice containers?
Yeah, and unfortunately, do you want me to just drink this on stream?
That's what Gordon Ramsay did. There you go.
You can't even taste it because of the heat?
No, that actually worked. That's kind of terrifying. It's still lingering on like the sides of my mouth and my lips, but I'm not going to like, $5 red light show this and get lime juice everywhere. So I hate that worked. I also thought that was one of the buzz balls. So that were in the fridge, which definitely not doing that on this stream either, because I don't want to get you guys demonetized.
Yes, we definitely want to keep the show. Just because you've moved on doesn't mean we're not interested in continuing on. Our good friend Kyle, and Kyle, like, indicate if you are one of the brothers. So Ian, we do have some dueling brothers who send in mail. I don't know if you caught that episode where one of them caught the other one, like based on the way the question was phrased, was like, oh, I think my brother listens to your show, which I thought was really, really funny. Scott, what player would you rather go for? Rutger or Liney, and what would you offer for the player that you select?
All right. I'm taking Rutger because the age lines up better with what the Canadiens are looking to do here. I think you're offering more. I think you're offering up potentially a player like Owen Beck, one of the defensive prospects potentially. For Patrick Laine, I think that the Calgary first-round pick that is conditioned to outlast the heat death of the universe would be the main focal point of that. And then someone like a Jordan Harris or a goaltending prospect going to Columbus. Jay Foster talked about this on Locked On Blue Jackets. McGroarty, I think, is going to be more expensive, but gives the Canadiens that much longer-term flexibility. If he signs his 3-year entry-level deal, he's going to be just after guys like Hudson when Jack Eye and stuff have to be paid again. I think you're going to pay a much higher premium price on that, however.
I'm going to, since you mentioned Jay Foster, I'm going to read the message from Jay Foster for you.
Can I go over the next sauce? So while I'm listening to this, you can watch me suffer. Since Jay and I are the same person, I assume he may be feeling this too.
Yes, and for those of you who don't know, Jay is the host of Locked On Blue Jackets, fantastic person, an amazing friend of all of us, but also has been doing a fantastic job on his show. And if you want to hear things that Caden Lindstrom has to say, check out an episode from 2 Mondays ago, I think it was. And this is the message from Jay. Hey, Scott, just a quick message from Not Matla, your favorite clone. In all seriousness, this network has led me to meet a lot of awesome people, but none more awesome than you. You and Laura are a testament to how hard work, bits, and neon orange hot Cheeto monster energy can build a podcast force to be reckoned with, and the world of Habs podcasts is dimmer without you. I'm a better podcaster and hockey fan for having known you. You deserve retirement, but I'll miss listening to your Lane Hudson takes. Don't be a stranger friend. P.S. At least we'll always have the no one has ever seen them on the same podcast at the same time.
That's true. We've never been on the same podcast at the same time. This next one, I'm getting glared at from the other room now.
I mean, I am trying to make him cry. Tell her I'm trying to make him cry.
They're watching this. They're going to hear this in a second. So this one, we're going to jump up another 50,000 Scoville units because God is dead. A name inspired by pirates. This sauce can be an agent of chaos. Sweetness from muscadine, grape juice, and raspberries just barely balances out the spice of scorpion peppers. 126,000 Scoville units. It's got a red flag on it, which means no quarter, which means I'm going to drink half of this bottle of lime juice afterwards. So
after doing all these live shows, I literally just discovered that I can put questions on here.
That's
just...
Oh man,
you said that's tasty.
It is, and then the heat kicked in at the end there, and it's like, ooh, this is tasty. And then you bite into like an Oreo and find out it's filled with toothpaste. I'm like, oh man, no. That's tasty, but the heat's there now, and that's not great. Oh. Anyways, there's another question down here.
Yeah.
Do I see Demidov as a future elite scorer? God, I hope so, because if this fan base doesn't get that and he turns out not being great, this fan base is going to lose its mind.
I think the odds of him, hitting are pretty high, right? It seems like he's a pretty universally revered prospect. It still kind of defies logic that he even got to 5, right? Like the fact that we're still sitting here going, I can't believe he got to us is, a huge testament to the kind of player he is. I think that he's going to teach Canadiens fans a lot of patience, though. Like, we got to wait. Everyone, this summer was like, oh, he might not start in KHL, and then he's going to come over here. And then like a week later, his KHL coach was like, no, he's going to play in the KHL. Like, it's fine. Like, we all need to chill out. We all need to relax. Let him have the year. Maybe if his team gets knocked out early, although I doubt it because that team looks pretty stacked, he'll come over at the end of the year. But if not, we'll see him next September.
So to go back to that question about what's the worst part of like getting the hiccups and stuff like that, I also forgot that my mouth is kind of numb, so I can't tell that I'm drooling.
I mean, we are watching you suffer. Like, that's the whole point of the show.
Right.
I got tears in my eyes and I'm sweating and my nose is running. Oh, and it's only going to get worse because the next one is Da Bomb, and this is the one that nearly killed me last time. So we're going to find out if it's any better. If you had to come up with a Montreal Canadiens inspired hot sauce name, what would it be and what would it taste like?
I have an answer for you, but I'm going to let you answer, and then I'm going to show you another answer.
I'd call it Scary Price. And I would make it out of like this stuff, basically. Thanks, hon. I know not to touch my eyes after handling bear mace. Yeah, I'm worried about me, and I'm the one doing it.
My Canadiens hot sauce would be the Marc Bergevin. It would taste awful, last way too long, and be very disappointing.
Here's my favorite one.
So salt. We're gonna get salt.
It's gonna be a lot of salt.
All right. We're gonna move on to the next one here. I'm not ready to do this because the last 3 suck. This is the bomb. Oh, don't worry. It's the all-natural version, though. The only 3 ingredients of this are Pepper X peppers, Pepper X pepper sauce, and Pepper X pepper powder and vinegar. I don't know what Pepper X Pepper is, but it sounds like a K-pop band. All right, I'm doing too many things with my hands here, so all right, let's do this.
Ricky Bobby doesn't know what to do with his hands.
I don't know what to do with my hands because I want to keep wiping my face. Okay, not good when it's so solid. It's not good. Oh, there we go. I'm going to eat this and I'm going to rant while I'm, swearing my brain, not trying to swear my brains out and eating ridiculously hot sauce. So, Trizak, the bomb is up right now. So,
Yep.
It does. It doesn't taste like anything.
It just tastes like too hot.
To quote Ralph Wiggum, it tastes like burning. And like burning, I want to address the Ottawa Senators and like 95% of their fan base who think that they are our rival. You are the little brother that keeps asking to borrow your phone to play Subway Surfers, even though you need it for something else. It's so bad. Oh, can I have an ice cube, please? Why? An ice cube. Why are you giving me a cold bagel?
Starch? I don't know. Does starch help? Carbohydrates
I'm crying right now.
Carbs to comfort you? I don't know. It seems kind to me. So we've got a question here from Cole that I'll answer while you're dying over there. It's a cooking thing, so you can combine it like in your tummy. It's just like when you're trying to cook it, it like doesn't emulsify or does the opposite thing. So Scott's gonna be okay.
No, Scott's gonna barf at the end.
Far.
You should stay tuned in.
We're gonna keep the live show going until he does.
Is that the biggest ice cube in Buffalo?
I just remembered when there was like this massive ice storm in Buffalo and Scott got stuck somewhere and couldn't come home.
I just want to point out that all of this is voluntary. I'm pretty sure every time Scott has done this, he has been the one to pitch the idea. So
thank you, hon.
We're not, this isn't, dance monkey dance. Like he wants to do this.
We love Jay because Jay just made us another meme, Ian, which we will be using on this show. Scott, do you want to read the question? Do you want me to read the question? Do you still need a minute?
I'm trying to blow my nose. My nose is running so much right now.
I think this might be the most fun one we've done. The most fun gross thing we've done. Because we do a lot of gross
struggling out there.
Yeah.
I got 2 left, and the next one's 600,000 Scoville units hotter.
These numbers mean nothing. I just want you to know that. They don't mean a thing.
The numbers don't lie, and they spell disaster for me sitting in my own living room on a Friday night.
What's tomorrow going to look like, Scott? Did you take my advice and put some toilet paper in the freezer?
Yeah, and the worst part is, you know what I got to do? I got to go to my tailor to get fitted for a suit.
That was bad scheduling. That's going to be miserable. That's terrible.
All right, I think we're good. I think we're past the worst of it right now. Yeah, he says right now, like an idiot.
Our good friend JD Hernandez of Locked On NIM Ducks just wants to point out that when he did the burrito challenge, he learned his lesson, but you still have not learned your lesson, but he loves you anyway.
No, somehow the woman who agreed to marry me and her family are watching this in the other room and somehow have just not kicked me, have not decided to change back on that. I don't know why or how, but all right. Should we move on to the next one to see how bad this? Do
you want to answer the question maybe before?
I haven't even read the question. I can barely see out of my eyes right now. Not because I've touched it, but because I've been crying.
All right, Andrew asks, more seriously, given the Habs' surprising 4th place in the Athletics goaltending rankings, including 12th for the current goaltending, how likely is it that Montembeault will still be a Hab when the team contends?
Very, because Caden Primo, I don't think is going to be that guy. Oh, my God. And they don't want to rush Jacob Fowler. I think Montembeault could be a very good 1B to the Jacob Fowler 1A if everything goes to plan. If everything doesn't go to plan, Samuel Montembeault has been a pretty damn good NHL quality starter, and I think they're happy keeping him around. His contract's fair, and if he continues to perform and they're waiting for other people, fine. I think Montembeault will still be here in one capacity or another when this team is going for it. Depending on who steps up out of Dobish, Fowler, Miller, Croteau, whatever the 9 goalies they draft next year are.
Yeah, and goalies take a while. I think we kind of have forgotten that because we haven't had to develop one in a long time, and we haven't developed one in a long time. Like they take a while. I would bet on Montembeault being the guy for the next few years, and if it's not Montembeault, I doubt it's Fowler.
Well, that was for the family in the other room cheering me on. Well-meaning, not in the mood for well-meaning cheers as I did this to myself. We're on to the second to last one. This is called Peppers Up. And it's got Apollo peppers, blackberry and blueberry, and brown sugar and yuzu in it. 700,000 Scoville units, which makes it right on the level of the bare minimum of police pepper spray.
Do we have to do a disclaimer when we do these?
Please
do not
no,
attempt what
mine
you're
came
seeing
with
at home.
one though that I will Christ, I should do more cardio apparently. To not harm myself and like drink the sauce directly. Proof the sauce is on there. It's right there.
The show is not medical advice. Ask a doctor if hot sauce is right for you.
It's not.
And here it's going to turn. Yep, there it goes. It's the bit from The Simpsons where he's like, you can see his heartbreak in real time. Like, that's what we're watching.
It's so good up front, and the brown sugar is great. The back end of this is if you just put smoke and heat together. It's really good, but oh my. Still not as bad as the bomb because it has flavor, but the lingering on the backside of that is not great at 700,000. It's immediately put my head into like, whew, okay. That's a lot of heat. I feel like I am slightly lightheaded. Does someone want to read the question while I suck on?
Yeah, I was about to read it up because I also have an answer for it. Quentin asks, will you be back as a guest to give us your takes on when big trades and signings happen? Gonna miss having you around. Laura will inevitably have to be away, in which case we will do a kids table episode where
we're gonna remember some dudes for 30 so minutes. Hard.
Yeah,
we're gonna remember so many dudes. Also, Ian, when you tweeted out that trivia question, I'm like, if you don't mention Alex Tanguay,
all of them. We hit.
I know you mentioned all of them, but I'm like, if you don't mention your Alex Tanguay jersey, I'm gonna be real mad at you.
The answer was always all of them. I feel like every day, like it's gonna be like, which ones did I mention last night? And every single day, it's gonna be like all of them.
Yeah.
Why is the bomb the third from the end when it's worse than the second to last one?
Is it Scott, always the dab at the end?
Yeah, go ahead.
What now?
Is it always the dab at the end?
Yeah, that's the last one. I have one left for that.
Ian has a question that I interrupted.
Yeah, Scott, who's your favorite guy to remember? Who's your favorite dude that you're like, man, that's like peak dude?
Robert Lang.
Yeah, that's great.
Robert Lang's that dude I like to remember. JP Dumont, for the Sabres fans who may or may not be in attendance.
That's nice.
Dwayne Rollison doesn't really count, but Dwayne Rollison. Mike Greer before he became Sharks GM. I'm digging back into because I only grew up with MSG in the area and Rick Jenneret, so I'm going back to my Sabres knowledge on some of that.
Patrick Coletta.
No, absolutely not. I hate that dude.
Yeah, that was the guy that
Patrick Coletta is if you get Brad Marchand, grew him up, gave him a butt chin, and a lot dirtier play without any Stanley Cups. Dude was I can't say it on this show without getting you demonetized. But when I say scumbag, I mean scumbag in every sense of the word. The first Habs game I ever went to, he was skating behind Andrei Markov, reached around and sucker punched him right in the face. The minute PK Subban got over to him, he turtled like a coward and got the only and ended up on the Sabres power play because of it. All right. We're down to the last one here. 2.69, nice, 3 million Scoville units. It's the last wing. You've made it to the pinnacle of Mount Scoville, and you have just a few more steps before you're at the summit. It's tradition here to add a little extra dab, so grab some more of this 91% Pepper X sauce. and prepare to live the tradition like a true spice lord. The only ingredient, this is literally just the 3 Pepper X ingredients again. Oh. One fond farewell to ever doing. Oh, I dropped it on the floor. Not the wing, this is the cap, which we have a dog, so I will be scrubbing the ever-loving.
How convenient. All the sauce is on the floor.
Is the dog
now.
in her crate?
Yes. Do you think I would have like
I'm
thing that's going to set my insides on fire around our dog?
I'm just making sure.
All right. One dab of the last dab. To new beginnings, to the end of Locked On Canadiens in the Scott era, for better and for worse. And they will never be worse. The cat is now meowing in the other room.
I have a question that I'd like to ask you, Scott. Was this dinner for you, by the way? Like, was this your meal for the night? That's miserable, dude.
It's going to get a lot worse in a second when my fiance finds out I haven't had lunch today either.
There's no cushion in there. It's just going to go straight into organs, huh?
I'm not choking, but
this is why this is Scott's last episode, because he's actually going to disappear after this.
A cloud of just spite and anger. Say things.
Say things.
he's like, there's too much radio silence. We have to keep the show going.
Well, I mean, I have a very long goodbye message from Julian McKenzie if you'd like me to start reading that.
Sure. That's great. You guys do that.
I mean, I do want you to get some of it, to absorb some of it.
I'm listening. I'm just, the tears are both from sadness and because I think I hate myself for being like, hey, instead of going out and punching a cop and getting pepper sprayed, what if I just do it to myself? And here we are.
All right. The message is, I first met Scott in 2017 during that year's AHL Calder Cup playoffs. I was a broadcast intern for Syracuse Crunch that season. The Crunch faced off against the Canadiens' minor league affiliate, the St. John's Ice Caps at the time, in a 7-game first-round series in which Syracuse won. Before moving to Syracuse, I was an avid reader and follower of Habs Eyes on the Prize, the website that followed everything and anything about the Canadiens while establishing legitimate credibility through people like Andrew Berkshire, Mark Dumont, Jared Book, Justin Blades, and Scott. So meeting Scott in person was really exciting for me. Anything he needed that week, I was happy to help him out with, not that he needed it. I probably just gave him game notes and that was it. After the playoffs, I graduated from Syracuse University and moved back to Montreal. I looked for freelance gigs and I found a few in local media. I was this close to joining another Canadiens blog until Scott DM'd me personally to ask me about joining EOTP. It was a no-brainer. Writing for EOTP did wonders for my life as a journalist, and I will always be grateful to Scott and the rest of the team for giving me a chance. I get that Scott or Laura will talk about how hard I worked to be in the spot that I'm in or something like that, which is true. Julian often, he spent time having 6 million jobs all at once at the same time. He is one of the hardest working people in the Montreal media and in hockey media as a whole. But here's the truth. There are so many people who want jobs in the field of media, and all it takes is for somebody or multiple people to see your talent and open a door for you. Nobody makes it in this industry on their own. Scott contributed to that, and I think much had to do with that chance encounter at the cramped yet hallowed War Memorial Arena in Syracuse. Our paths have taken us in so many different places since, but I'm happy we could experience your first Canadiens game together. Oh, that Flyers game was with Julian?
They scored 0 goals and none in the shootout on trade deadline day. Oh my God. I'm so lightheaded right now that I can't actually yell or I'm going to pass out in this chair.
So let me keep talking. But I'm happy we got to experience your first Canadiens game together and that we ran into each other as credentialed media members during the 2022 NHL draft. Scott did a great job of writing about the Canadiens in an informative way while also not being afraid to let his fandom show online. He upheld a standard that made EOTP one of the best places to remain informed about the Montreal Canadiens. That carried over to the Locked On Canadiens podcast with Laura Sappa. While I have no doubt Ian Boisvert will do a great job replacing him, Scott will be missed on the show. Wishing you the best with whatever's next. I think Scott's dead.
Yeah, he died.
He died.
Good.
R.I.P. Scott.
I'm good. Here's the thing about meeting Julian in that press box is he comes up to me while we're talking. I'm having lunch or dinner or whatever it was in the press box there. It was Noah Julesen's professional debut. And I then DM Mark Dumont and Jared Book going, hey, do you guys know Julian the intern? And they go, yeah, we love that guy. I'm like, cool. So I should hang out with and make friends. And they're like, yeah, Julian's great. And then it was like 3 weeks later that I sent him that DM. I asked Mark, I'm like, hey, Julian's looking for a gig after graduating from Syracuse University. Carly graduated from Syracuse Law School. Go Orange. To get him that job. And at the 11th hour, at about 11:45 at night, I sent that email to Julian, and everything else is history after that. Now he covers Calgary. He's still one of the best people around. Meeting him at the draft was one of those full circle kind of moments that it's like we were in a press box where I had to squat on a chair to look out over the ice to watch this AHL playoff game. I sat next to Trevor Timmons and whoever else was doing Canadian scouting at that time. And after the Canadiens had been eliminated from the Stanley Cup playoffs at that point, Claude Julien was there. And in a parking lot, I went, good luck with the rest of the season, and then promptly wish I was hit by a bus. So I think we're good. My nose is not going to stop running at any point in time, so apologies if you see me wiping or blowing my nose or something. But we've done it.
I have one more video for you.
Okay, 1 second. Hon, can I have you take this plate away from me, please?
I never want to see hot sauce or a chicken wing again.
No, because I'm keeping like at least 5 or 6 of these sauces for eggs and stuff. But we have survived. I think, Casey, how old is this bagel? So it's from May is the answer to this question.
The hot sauce might be the worst thing, the least of your problems.
I don't know how to feel about any of this, but okay. I think I'm no longer mostly dying. My stomach might disagree, but we finished it. I'm going to have a little bit of this puppers, and let's see what video we've got, Laura.
Hey, Squirt. By now you probably know that Laura has done a little bamboozle on you and asked everybody to send you some real messages on your last show here on Locked On Canadiens. So I am going to get real with you, man, and I'm going to thank you because not only have you been an amazing friend and colleague and partner in crime with my amazing friend Laura, you have been an inspiration in a lot of ways that you probably don't even know, man. The way you've been, open and honest about your mental health and getting healthy, I have never told you, but you inspired me, man. You made me look into it, and Laura as well. She knows, her talking about what she's gone through on the mental health side really opened my eyes to a lot of stuff and allowed me to work on myself. So even if it's stuff that we may not have talked about, man to man, Scott, you are an inspiring person, and I hope you understand that and you know that. There's a reason why Carly's with you. It's not your stunning good looks. Not that I'm saying you don't have them, but that's not what it is. It's you as a person, my friend, and whatever the next thing is when you're done taking a bit of a break here, I'm so excited to see it. I'm so excited to do anything with you, man, anytime you're in town. So, bon voyage from Locked On Canadiens, and thanks for being the best. A great friend, a great person.
Did Jerkshire get you?
Yeah, a little bit. It's not fair because I can't touch my eye.
Great.
Laura's
Now
got to
you
edit
make
this
Laura
and
do more
post
work.
now, so
Laura's
great.
gonna have to do some editing.
That's Scott's parting gift. There's more work
Yeah.
for Laura.
I think that's the first F-bomb I've dropped on this show in 5 years, which is incredible when you consider some of the things that have been in here.
And I will have to hide the live show and then edit it up. So do you have any more enemies to address, Scott, before we end the show?
I think the biggest thing is that I want them to live in constant fear that now that I don't have to tie myself to a corporate entity, I'm just going to come for them on Twitter instead of being polite about it.
He's unleashed.
There are several people who know they are probably expected to be heard from in this show. And you know what? To quote Kendrick Lamar, everything with me is blessed. And I don't need to drag myself down to your level because I can be a hater on so many different ways than you can. I will say, let's just do a rundown here a little bit, though. We've already talked about Ottawa. Toronto, you blew a 3-1 series lead to a team coached by Dominic goddamn Ducharme, who couldn't coach his way out of a paper bag, with Carey Price playing on one knee and a hip, Paul Byron playing on no hips, Shea Weber playing with no ligaments in his body, lost. Winnipeg, you don't have an airport. Mark Scheifele is a coward. You got swept and you deserve nothing but the mediocrity that you've gotten. Vegas, nobody likes you. Stop trying so hard. Tampa, you were over the cap. Nikita Kucherov is one of the most boring superstars ever. And his personality being a grumpy jerk is not anything that I care about. Showing up at a fan event and doing absolutely nothing is not quiet quitting. It's you're a jerk and nobody likes you. Just take the 1-game suspension you probably deserved for doing something heinously illegal on the ice. Vancouver, we're cool now, even after you doxed me over Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Edmonton, I've talked about this in our episode. You're terrible. You've made a lot of mistakes. You don't deserve to win anything. I hate you forever. Calgary, we're good. Love you guys. Blasty forever. That's all the Canadian teams. Carolina, you're still trying too hard. You're not edgy or fun anymore. You sound like that 22-year-old guy who goes to 7-Eleven to buy regular Monster in his Honda Civic with a loud muffler and then hangs around the high school at football games that you played 6 years ago to be like, I still got it. I could have gone pro if I didn't throw out my shoulder. No one cares. Stop it. That's about it for teams. Austin Matthews has a receding hairline. Mitch Marner's not worth that much money. John Tavares is overpaid. I would take Brady Tkachuk on the Montreal Canadiens in a heartbeat. Am I forgetting anything?
He died as he lived. He went out. I feel like I'm just watching an artist at work right now. This is awesome.
We're just gonna keep spiraling down this hole. Drake, stop. Just everything, all of it. Don't try to respond. Don't try to make more music because I listened to Go On Delilah and Kendrick beat you so bad you started making worse music than you were before. Get some media literacy before you go after a dude who won a Pulitzer Prize. I'm begging you. The Chicago Bears. Maybe Caleb Williams will be good. Maybe he won't. I wish you nothing but eternal suckitude. The Minnesota Vikings. You were the Ottawa Senators of the Canadiens Senators rivalry. Sure, you were good one time. You have nothing to show for it. You got close and you got nothing to show for it. Don't care. Go away. Detroit, you deserve something after being terrible for so long in the punch bag of all of this. In soccer, Leeds, I hate you. I will go back to that game in the championship 6 or 7 years ago, and I hate you. Arsenal, always. Why do you have a dinosaur as your mascot? You're a cannon. Manchester United, Bruno Fernandes is one of the biggest divers in the face of the sport of soccer. Cristiano Ronaldo got beat so bad by Lionel Messi, he went and joined a league for blood money and then continued to lose things while Messi continued to get more adored in the MLS. Mark Bergevin, thank you for wasting the prime of one of the best Canadiens goaltenders ever and one of the top goaltenders of the late 2010s in that time frame there. Yeah, I think that might bring a wrap to. Elon, I can't say everything I want to, or Laura's going to edit 3 hours of this show. You ruined the best posting app on the face of the earth. I will never forgive you. And if I ever see you or another Cybertruck on the road, it is on site. Live with that thought for the rest of your life.
And on that note,
I'm not going to make Laura read those comments.
And on that note, would you have any goodbye messages that are not addressing your enemies? Maybe addressing your listeners and your friends.
Yeah. Anyways, I got to turn the hater off now, which is the hard part here. But Laura, when you originally DM'd me about this, and I actually talked with our boss, Sean Woodley, about this earlier today, it was a chance on someone who really didn't have any experience hosting or editing or talking or doing a lot of these things on a podcast. That doing this as a professional gig for 5 years is a treat and a privilege that I would not get otherwise. It's done a lot to help me move forward in a lot of other facets of my life. And this is something that I will never, ever have regretted doing. As bad as the Canadiens were, as bad as we don't have any hockey for 3 months because, oh boy, the jab tried to come back on me there for a second. That was bad because now the back of my throat's on fire. Even in the worst of times in deep COVID, I could find solace in hanging out in this, doing Spotify green rooms where we just remembered some dudes and talked trash about everything for hours at a time. In that Ian, someone that I became friends with through a weird hockey Twitter scandal of things and checking in on stuff, but everything in since then we have been great friends since then, and that there's someone that I could always ask to run a thought by or to discuss things with in DMs, text, otherwise, that you can't just find that randomly. That's someone that you're lucky to find at any point in time. I'm not leaving eyes on the prize, so I don't need to say goodbye to them yet. For everyone who listened to this over 5 years from when we built this from a show where we got a $16 paycheck once as we were launching this show all the way up to where we are at now, getting recognized on the streets of Montreal during draft weekend. Thank you. We know it's been a weird road with highest of highs and first overall lows, I guess, if you want to call that. Your support and everything in DMs and beyond has been so incredible to keep us going forward in all of that. Laura and Ian are going to absolutely crush this show. Listening to the first episode, I went, Ian's not going to miss a beat in this, and they're already off and flying. The chemistry is great. Everyone who loves Locked On Canadiens is going to love what comes next, and couldn't leave the show off in better hands.
And I just want to thank you again, Scott, for 5 years. I am excited. Ian and I are having our first planning meeting this weekend, actually. I'm excited for the new directions we're going to go in. But I think, this show would not be this show if you hadn't built it. And it's been an incredibly fun time. And I'm so excited that you're going to go on to do really, really fun and exciting things in your life.
Like I said, I can't wait to see what comes next with this. And I know that if anything chaotic or fun happens, that I can just send both of you a text, be like, I'm coming on the show tonight. And there's nothing either of you can do about it.
Well, we can lock you out now.
I already am locked out of everything. That was what I woke up to on Friday morning.
That was a really funny thing, was that we did our goodbye show. It was our final show. And then Ian and I started recording, and Scott was still getting in there being like, I wanted to see what tomorrow's show was about. And I was like, you got to wait till tomorrow. And Ian, did you have any parting words for Scott?
Yeah, of course. I mean, listening to what Laura was saying from Julian I found a lot of similarities in that, right? Like, Scott is not the type to pull the ladder up with him. I don't have, if Scott doesn't have any experience, I had negative experience coming into this, right? Like, I'd never been paid to do this before. No one's ever really given me a shot. You guys gave me my first shot, just coming on here, being a guest, from the Rabid Habs days. Like, that's kind of wild to think it started there. And you guys gave me a legitimate chance. I ended up on Game Over a bunch. I think this industry, a lot of the time, especially when you're coming at it from a fan perspective, is, the right people are watching. and you, Laura and Scott, you guys were the right people. That your support for me has meant everything, and the fact that you guys throughout this process have stressed that you guys want to take the thing that you've built and give it to somebody that you trust and you want to leave this with. And I feel very grateful for that, obviously. And I feel, there's that's a lot of weight, right? Like the show that you guys built, and the way that, Scott, you've kind of ingrained yourself in the Canadiens, media landscape. Like you're the GIF guy, right? Like you I see your Twitter account pop up on Reddit all the time because people are pulling your stuff and they're posting it elsewhere. You're an integral part of the Canadiens fan media diet. And I like I said, I'm gonna miss listening to the two of you, because the dynamic you guys had was great. And I'm just really thankful for the support and like Scott said, the friendship that we've built over the last few years. Getting Twitter DMs about trade proposals at like 1 a.m. It's a good time, right? Like those are when you're getting those messages, you found your people, right? Like that's what we do this for. So Scott, I wish you the best in semi-retirement and entry into wife guy status. I'm going on 2 years. It's the one of the best joys that you can have in life. So I wish you guys the best.
The good news is we're not doing hot ones at the wedding, so I don't have to do this again. I can safely say I'm not doing this again for at least another 2 or 3 years.
But wait, 3 years from now, can we count on you to come back?
There better be a damn good reason.
Well, Stanley Cup hot ones. Okay.
No, I'm not going to be in any state of like present being to be able to do that, because we've already said when they win the Stanley Cup, I'm doing that show with a bottle of tequila in one hand and we're just letting everything fly afterwards. So
and I just want to mention one thing. It's just like my favorite thing, which Scott already knows. I don't know, Ian, if you do, but Scott being the GIF guy, like one of my favorite things about just being like doing this podcast with him and being kind of in his orbit is when he posts a GIF and then like fans of other teams get angry at Scott for what's happening
he
in
did
the
it.
GIF. Yeah, like, it's one of my favorite things.
Don't make me tap the sign.
that tweet's never going away until they tear that website to the ground. So
and I want to thank all of our listeners for sticking with us through this hour and watching Scott suffer. We didn't have to do it alone. You joined us. I will post this episode. I'm obviously going to have to hide the original version and edit out the swears.
5 years.
I know. You're not officially a host anymore, so they can't even fire you for it. But yeah, and for those of you who are tuning in for the first time for whatever reason and aren't familiar with us, this is not actually what we do every day. And I'm actually trying to figure out which one of me and Ian is going to be the one to like do weird stunts going forward. Because I think that to me is one of the biggest things we're losing in Scott. But I want to thank everyone for listening. I want to thank Scott one last time for being an amazing co-host. I want to thank Ian for agreeing to come on this adventure. And I'm excited for next week when we start taking it in our new direction. Thank you so much, everybody. And we will talk to you on Monday.